汇集天下大事，聚焦华人热点。西雅图中文电台网络电视。
Seattle area, and also ICBC, the largest bank in the world, has opened a new branch here. Dini Group is here. JMY is here. Has opened a new store, and Northwest Innovation Works is investing more than $5 billion in Washington State in clean energy projects. So I think we've done quite well, and we are very proud of our members. Boeing delivered a record 200 planes to China last year. Starbucks is thriving in China with 2,000 stores. Alaska Airlines and Hainan have an exciting new partnership. And the University of Washington and Tsinghua University in China have just launched the Global Innovation Exchange with support from Microsoft. In April, we hosted 70 entrepreneurs from China in this room for Shenzhen Day. And we had 7 major partnerships signed between Chinese and American partners, which included Amazon, the Gates Foundation, the University of Washington, the City of Seattle, and Boeing and Shenzhen Airlines. We celebrated the 25th anniversary.
About what's going on, but you know, as folks that, like myself that have been involved in China for a long time, there's never a dull moment. There's always something interesting and worth learning about. So we are really pleased to have Chairman Wu Bin from the Chinese Academy of Science Holdings and Cheng Li from the Brookings Institute to be with us tonight. And I think it's going to be a really, really interesting and insightful program. But we're also here to celebrate. We're also here to meet one another. We're also here to make business and new relationships and friends, and we want to let you get on doing that. You know, as part of our region's intensified focus on this bidirectional relationship, and it is truly bidirectional now, it's really great to see the energy and the prioritization from both the cities.
State-to-state kinds of opportunities was pretty overwhelming for me, but I wasn't at all stressed. I wasn't at all anxious because of the incredible groundwork that Christy and Jim and the Washington State China Relations Council, aided by ICBC Bank, thank you so much for your support, was able to make for various visits with businesses and city officials, especially in the cities of Shenzhen and Hangzhou. You've heard Christy talk about the incredible banner year that Seattle had last year, obviously culminating in President Xi's visit to Seattle and Washington State. This was a remarkable opportunity when we went back to China, and especially the cities of Shenzhen and Hangzhou, really to build on President Xi's visit here to Seattle. The level of enthusiasm and hospitality and innovative spirit that we experienced was very palpable. And one of the things, certainly our intent in that advance trip in December, was to lay the groundwork for Mayor Murray's first visit to China, which will be in May of this year. And I just want to express, again, the fact that we have an entity like the Washington State China Relations
Banquet of the Washington State China Relations Council.
For me to say there was a great mutual interest between the people of our region and the people of China would clearly be an understatement. In the last 6 months, I've had the pleasure of meeting Shu Qin, the mayor of the city of Shenzhen, at a luncheon hosted by this organization. Zhang Qianqing, the chair of the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, who traveled here to help open the local branch. And President Xi Jinping, who stopped for a visit on his way to see the President of the United States and address the United Nations General Assembly. I was honored to be part of a group of local officials who met with President Xi. Okay, he was probably more excited to meet Jeff Bezos of Amazon or that Facebook guy, Mark Zuckerberg. But at least I got some FaceTime to chat about climate change. You know, these important visitors help show how important Seattle and King County are to the world, to China. China is our nation's largest trading partner, and certainly our state's largest trading partner. In 2014, Washington State exported over $20 billion in products to China and imported nearly $8.5 billion in products.
Leaders to explore ways to expand our collaboration. And also, I have the great opportunity to be here to export my English, which made in China to you. Governor Jane Inslee and Brian Bonetta at the Department of Commerce have provided great support for our investment and the cooperation efforts, and are able ambassadors for the state. Let me report to you one of my most important jobs is to build a bridge, a double green bridge between the United States and China. One green refers to the green US dollars. The other green means environmentally friendly development. There are two ends of the bridge. One end is in China, anchored by the Chinese Academy of Sciences. The other end is in the United States, in the northwest of America, in Washington State here. The Chinese Academy of Sciences was established in 1949. It is the very beginning of modern China. It is an arm of the State Council, and it is the link chain.
Yes, we did expose the severity of air pollution in China with our air monitoring machines, not just on the U.S. Embassy in Beijing, but then we expanded that to all of the consulates throughout China. And I have to tell you, so many people would come up to me who spoke almost no English, and the only phrase that they would say to me is, "Xie xie PM 2.5. For those of you who don't know, PM 2.5 is really the measurement of the really fine particulate matter that is very, very dangerous and harmful to human health and gets into the bloodstream. It's measuring pollution at smaller than 2.5 microns, and that's why they call it PM 2.5. And I think that we were actually very successful in really trying to advance the image of America and really the people-to-people diplomacy simply by flying economy class and ordering our own Starbucks, carrying our own luggage, and wearing a Nike backpack. Thank to Starbucks. Shout out to Starbucks for helping to promote the diplomacy. Well, I'm here tonight to really present an award, and it's called the Sydney Award, to a person who has really been instrumental in U.S.-China relations. Few people have so quietly but more profoundly influenced the U.S.-China relationship than Mr. Stan Baer. We know about Stan, the international law firm, Garvey, Schubert & Baer, bears his name as a co-founder. He's also the co-founder and chairman emeritus of Saltchuk Resources, the parent company of many steamship, tug, and barge companies serving Alaska, the West Coast, and even South America. Companies like Tote and Foster Maritime. That's all part of Saltchuk, founded by Stan Baer. He's also one of the founders of the Washington State China Relations Council and served as past president. In 1963, fresh out of the University of Washington Law School, he arrived in Washington, D.C. one day before the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech at the Lincoln Memorial. He was assigned to U.S. Senator Warren Magnuson's Senate Commerce Committee, and there he went on to write Title II of the historic 1964 Civil Rights Act prohibiting discrimination in public accommodations. That's something that few people know about. He later served as Senator Magnuson's top aide from 1969 to 1974. And for those of you who are relatively new to the state of Washington or U.S. politics, Senator Magnuson was one of the most powerful senators in U.S. history, and he was from the state of Washington. Now, many of you have heard of Stan for his 1979 legal interpretation that cleared the way for U.S. cargo ships to sail to China and for Chinese ships to sail to America. That breakthrough was key to enabling our two-way trade to be so robust as it is today, with China becoming Washington State's #1 export destination and America's #1 export destination outside of North America. And with America becoming China's #1 export destination, in fact exceeding all of the exports to the EU countries combined. And of course, it has enabled millions of jobs for our peoples on both sides of the Pacific. But few people know how that breakthrough came about. It was during his time working for Senator Magnuson that Stan learned so much about China. He once said, quote, "You can't work for Warren Magnuson for 10 years and not be a believer in China, of peaceful commerce with Asia." Even though trade between the United States and China had resumed in 1973, shortly after Nixon's historic trip to China, goods, cargo, had to use ships of other countries because of a frozen assets ban put in place by both nations going back to just before the Korean War. But shortly after leaving Washington, D.C., and starting his own law practice here in Seattle, Stan made his first trip to China in 1975 to resolve a long-standing collision dispute between a Chinese fishing boat and one of Stan's clients. Every day, for 8 days, he asked for an appointment in China, but no response. So the night before his last full day in China, he and his wife, Alta, who's here, sat down at a table under a chandelier in their room at the Beijing Hotel. And he said, quote, "Alta, I'm going to read you a letter that I wrote to Senator Warren Magnuson." And it read, "Dear Senator Magnuson, I know how important you believe trade is as a link. And I've worked hard every day to solve this collision problem so that we could actually move on to reestablishing shipping. But I can't get an appointment." He was reading into the chandelier, which had a listening device in it. The next afternoon, after he and Alta had returned to their hotel room from a sightseeing trip to the Great Wall, there was a VIP limo adorned with Chinese government flags waiting for him. He had finally secured his appointment with the minister through the chandelier. Now, during his discussions with that minister, Stan actually brought up the topic of resuming shipping between the two countries. He was told by the Chinese that American ships were welcome in China as long as Chinese ships could visit the United States. So he had to somehow get around that ban imposed by two countries. So over the next several years, Stan used his vast knowledge of the federal government, his unparalleled connections, and his sharp
and Mr. Chen Wu and Governor Gary Lau, and especially the legendary Stan, is similar to perform music, following immediately after Jenny G, Julie Collins, and Jimi Hendrix. All of them are natives in Seattle, so it's a big challenge for me. Well, Nielsen mentioned that I have been on the road a lot. In fact, I came to Seattle several times last year, and including a very memorable visit when I personally greeted President Xi Jinping here in late September. It is by no means a coincidence that both Chinese presidents, Hu Jintao earlier and Xi Jinping last year, chose Seattle as the first stop of their state visits. I want to applaud Seattle, especially the WSCRC, for your outstanding work. I believe that your council represents Seattle's great tradition of culture exchanges, represents a profound sense of global thinking, and forward-looking, and represents a frontier in innovation and entrepreneurship. This is what I call the three represents, borrowing the famous series by Jiang Zemin called the three represents, as many of you have heard the term. I understand it's already getting late, and actually I belong to what I call the Elizabeth Taylor School of Public Speech. Anyone knows about the Elizabeth Taylor School of Public Speech? You know, she married 8 times. She always told her husband, "I will not keep you for too long." Well, my assignment this evening is to discuss China's economic and political outlook and the implications for U.S. business. As all of us know, analyzing China's political or economic future is not an easy job. China experts in the United States have vastly different views about China's future. As the old saying goes, ask 5 China experts about China's future development. You will get 5 different answers. 6 if one of them went to Harvard. Anyone in the room went to Harvard? Few of them? Well, actually, it's quite a compliment. You will never get wrong. And there's a good reason for being contradictory, I would say, when it comes to China's future development. A decade ago, the Council on Foreign Relations formed a task force, which I served as a member, and we published a book, a report. That was the report that a decade ago, not the report that just a year ago. The new report, I was not involved, which is awful. You know, actually, the leaders of the Council on Foreign Relations feel embarrassed by that very anti-China report. But the volume 10 years ago was, in my view, quite balanced. In that report, it observed that China is a paradox of numerous contrasts. For example, dynamic and stagnant, homogeneous and diverse, strong and weak, rich and poor, communist and capitalist, innovative and imitative, bureaucratic and efficient, passive and aggressive, inward-looking or global-oriented, repressive and free-willing. The list is quite long, I can continue. But most important paradox relates to China's future, which is a paradox of hope and fear. In the next 15 minutes or so, I would like to make 3 points. First, the reason for fear and hope regarding the Chinese economy. And number 2, also optimism about China. Thank you very much.